Good evening, everyone. We'll be waiting for a minute or two before we start the session. If you have any query, any question, any comment, I'll request you all to please write it in the chat box. Thank you. Guys, I'm just going to wait for one more minute before I start with the session. I hope so. Most of you have filled your KVPY forms already because the last date is over anyway. So I'm assuming everyone would have definitely filled in the KVPY form. For your information, the examination for KVPY is on January 31st, 2021. Keep that in mind. Do not forget it. I'll repeat it, the date again during mid session, but do keep in mind it's January 31st, 2021. All right, people, I think we will start with the session. We have waited enough time for everyone to join in. I cannot afford to wait any longer. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the session about KVPY paper strategy. I'm sure, as I've already said, most of our students have already filled in the form for KVPY. For those of you who are new and who are not aware as to what is KVPY, KVPY stands for Kishore Vaigyanik Protsahan Yojana. It's a government initiative. It's an examination that is conducted by the government of India, right? I'll just give you a brief background about KVPY so that people who don't know about KVPY should be well versed with it. KVPY is a scholarship program funded by the Department of Science and Technology of the Government of India. Why do they have to keep a scholarship program? This is basically to attract exceptionally highly motivated students for pursuing basic science courses and research careers in science. So KVPY is primarily for research purposes, right? So if you're interested into research, if you want to test your ability about writing the trickiest of all the questions, KVPY is the exam to be, right? The KVPY examination is conducted for admission in top institutes like IISc and various ISers. Also for IIT Hyderabad, by the way, right? So I'll repeat again, KVPY examination. So what happens is once you have given this examination, obviously it's a MCQ type of examination, or it's an aptitude examination. Once you have cleared it, you're eligible for admission directly to institute like IISc, Indian Institute of Science, and the topmost is IISc Bangalore, right? So if you want to get into research, best institutes in the country would be IISc and ISERS. IISc ALSA, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. There's an ISER in Pune itself for people staying in Pune or anywhere in Maharashtra. I think this is an amazing news. Once you get into ISER, then you could have examinations. There's separate examinations for ISRO as well as BARC. But KVPY could lay the foundation for you to become a scientist and enter a BARC and ISRO. Because as I said, KVPY is primarily for research, and BARC is obviously BARC as well as ISRO are too much are heavily invested into research. In fact, they are both these institutes, BARC, which is Baba Atomic Research Center, and ISRO, are single-handedly propagating research into the entire Indian subcontinent. They are pinnacles when it comes to research, and you could get into those institutes but through ISERS. Obviously, you need to study for your basic graduation, and then you need to do your PhD first, right? So that's what KVPY is. KVPY comes with a lot of benefits, right? I'll talk about the benefits of KVPY. So once you're selected, let's say you're clear the interview, you're selected and everything, you get an I-card from the government of India, which proclaims that you are a KVPY scholar. That I-card is as good as any other I-card issued by the government of India. It will give you access to all national labs as well as libraries. Apart from that, it will give you access to places like BARC and ISRO. You could probably meet and greet with those scientists working in those places. As a normal civilian, you're not allowed to visit these places, but as someone who's an ISA scholar, sorry, someone who's a KVPY scholar definitely gets that privilege. The government also pays you a monthly stipend, which can be anywhere between 5,000, about 5,000 rupees, right? And then if you were to complete your PhD, I mean, there are multitude of benefits, different benefits that are associated with KVPY. So if you say one single examination that if you're interested in research that you must crack is KVPY. It is that important. Again, as I said, you need to keep that in mind that KVPY examination, usually for this year, there's an exception. Can you join as an intern in these institutes? See, generally, once you are a KVPY scholar, you are part of a camp which is conducted by BARC scientists in for Maharashtra, it is near Bombay. And then you work on small projects from BARC and ISRO and different places, right? So that is sort of an internship, I would say, but it's more of a camp than an internship, right? Moving forward, KVPY 2021, 2020, and 2021 examination is slightly different as opposed to all other examinations the previous year. Why is it different from any other KVPY that was conducted, let's say in 2019 or 18 or any time before? Is obviously because of the COVID situation, right? So there are certain changes that were announced by the team behind KVPY. I'll take you through those announcements. Please have patience with me. So for KVPY 2020-21 selection, it will be solely based on the aptitude test. That is your basic KVPY examination, the entrance examination that you give. Your selection is solely based on that. Till last year, what used to happen is you will need to give the aptitude test first, and if you qualify, you will undergo. Then the second round would be a personal interview session, right? This year, you guys are lucky because there's no PI, there's no personal interview, right? I mean, I do not I cannot think of any better time to appear for KVPY examinations than now, right? So obviously, as I said, the entrance would be solely based on the aptitude test. Normally, because you're eligible to write KVPY in 11th standard, 12th standard, and in your FYBSc. So this year, people, if you have more attempts remaining, normally what happens? First will be an online test. For this year, it is on January 31st, 2021. I said this in the beginning. I'm saying it now. I'm going to repeat it once more. You need to make a note of this date, everyone, that the examination is on January 31, 2021. Interview in January, February section, it is not applicable for KVPY 2020 and 2021. Okay, remember that. Right? So the obviously KVPY happens in three streams. These three streams are, if you can follow my cursor here, that is SA, SX, and SB. Right? We'll break it down. This is important. SA stream is for students in 11th standard. So all those of you who are here, and if you're in 11th standard, kindly pay attention to this part because this is going to benefit you the most. Right? KVPY essay exams, the essay stream has two parts to it. Okay. Now understand which two parts am I talking about. In part one, there's 60 questions, right? 15 questions each of PCMB. That means there'll be 60 questions, out of which 15 questions would be from physics, 15 questions will be from chemistry, 15 questions would be from mathematics, and 15 questions would be for biology, right? Now, those of you who have not opted for biology, if you say, sir, is biology compulsory in 11th standard? The answer is yes. Yes, you need to be prepared for biology as well in 11th standard. In 12th standard, you can have an option, but we are going to talk about that later, right? So, the 15 questions would be asked. In part two, 20 questions are going to be asked, right? Again, from 5 questions each of PCMB. So part one, 15 questions per subject. Part two, 5 questions per subject. So that means there's a total of about 20 questions per subject that are going to be asked for you, right? For part one, you get 1 mark if the questions are right, right? And part two questions basically are 2 mark questions. Keep this in mind. Part one is 1 mark questions, part two has 2 mark questions. So for part one per subject, you have 15 questions, so 15 marks over there. And part two, you have 5 questions, 2 marks. So that becomes how much? 25. The total becomes a KVPY essay aspirant must attempt all subjects in part one and part two. This is a very important line. If you really want to crack KVPY and if you're in 11th standard, you must be well versed with all these 4 subjects, which is PCMB. You cannot leave even a single question as an option. You should not, you cannot leave a single subject as an option, right? I hope so. People are clear with the 11th standard stream. I hope everyone is clear with the 11th standard stream. If you are, then I'll move to the 12th standard stream and the FY, first year stream. There are 2 more streams, SX and SB. SX is the 12th standard stream and SB is the first year stream, first year BSc, right? So KVPY, SX and SB exams has 2 parts. Again, the 2 part remains. In both these, all these 3 streams, there will always be 2 parts. But the difference is that in the essay stream, these 2 parts, all 4 subjects are compulsory. But in these 2 streams, SX and SB, what happens in part one, there will be 80 questions, 20 questions each of PCMB. So physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, 4 subjects, 20 questions each. That is 80 questions. However, you get a leeway over here because the student must attempt only 3 subjects, that is, you need to attempt only 60 questions, you could drop one subject. So PCM students could drop the biology subject, PCB students could drop the mathematics subject, or whatever other subject you have a choice with, right? So in the first part, there's going to be 60 questions. And similarly, in part 2, there will be 40 questions, 10 questions each of PCMB. Okay? And out of these PCMB, a student must attempt only 2 subjects. That is 20 questions. So your total comes out to be 80 questions. Understand? I'll repeat this. I don't want anyone confused about SX and SB stream. 2 parts to these streams. Part 1, there would be 80 questions, but you need to attempt only 60 questions for any 3 subject. You can drop one subject. And for part 2, there'll be 40 questions, and you just need to attempt 2 subject questions. That is 20 questions only. So any 2, it could be physics or mathematics, it could be biochemistry, it could be whatever. These 2 subjects, by the way, these 2 subjects should be your strongest subjects. The first 3 subjects should be strong, but the last 2 subjects should be the strongest. Keep that in mind. See, the choice is yours. If you talk about the SX and SB stream, the choice is given to you. You need to select the subjects while filling the form. If you think you're studying PCM but your biology is very strong, I mean, go ahead, right? But I would not advise against that. I will always recommend to choose those subjects that you're studying, so that it helps you and benefits you in that way, right? If there's any confusion in these 2 points, please let me know right now, because I don't want anyone to confuse about anything in this. I'll just have a small recap once again. For SA stream, that is your 11th standard, you need to be prepared with all the 4 subjects, that is PCMB. For SX and SB, you need to prepare for 3 subjects, out of which 2 are your strongest. I think this simplifies things for everyone. I hope so. All right, people. If any one of you find this information important, if you want to take a screenshot of this page, please do this. All right, moving forward. How to prepare for KVPY examinations. Okay, this is important. Most of you guys have already filled in the form. Let's just focus on how do you prepare for the exam itself now. What are the books that you should refer? What do you need to do? Right? See, first understand that the KVPY exam, what does it do? It tests the aptitude and the analytical ability of the student. 2 important things that the KVPY examination is testing, which is your aptitude and your analytical ability. As I said, your logical powers should be very, very strong. It also checks your application oriented knowledge, right? And your conceptual understanding. So your aptitude, your analytical ability, your application oriented knowledge, your conceptual questions. These are the type of things that would be asked in the KVPY examination. And we all know that KVPY examination is a CBT. That's a computer based test. That means it would be an online examination. Obviously, you would be allotted to different centers, and you need to go there and write your examination, right? The prerequisites for a good score in KVPY examination is clarity of concepts. Only and only and only if you have clarity of your concepts that you stand a chance to clear the KVPY examination. It is definitely a good experience to attempt this examination. I'm not saying so. You definitely should go ahead and attempt this examination, whatever it is. Are you prepared? You're not prepared. But think about it this way. Anyway, you're going to appear for this examination. Why not be prepared for it? Because this preparation is also going to help you in all your other examinations, right? Because for KVPY, knowing how to solve a problem isn't enough. Only ये question है, इसको ऐसे solve करना है, काम नहीं आएगा. It is important to know why you solve the problem that way. ये last two lines are very critical over here if you to pay attention. I repeat them again because they are super important. For KVPY, knowing how to solve a problem is not enough. It is important to know why you solve the problem that way. Why are you using that method to solve a problem? See, there are multiple ways in which you solve a problem. But when you choose a specific method to solve a problem, you should know why are you choosing that method. Is this is it the most easiest? Is it the most you know saving time, or is it something very logical, or it solves, or is it very visual, or whatever it is? Because only then that you'll understand how problems are supposed to be solved. Right, there's no standard format like ये question आएगा तो यही formula use करना है. Don't do that. You need to be able to analyze the problem. It's a very important quality of a student who can analyze the problem and then deduce its meaning by themselves. Right, so keep that in mind. For 2020 study plan and preparation tips, I'll read through it and I'll also explain them. The first point would be, if you are the KVPY class 11, that is an essay stream aspirant. This is again addressed specifically and directly to class 11 students. Then all subjects PCMB are equally important. Don't give preference to any one subject. You cannot say मैं खाली physics करेगा, मैं सिर्फ math करेगा. I won't do bio, I won't do chemistry. You cannot do that. You'll need to do all possible subjects. All right. You cannot give preference to any single subject. Keep that in mind. But at the same time, for KVPY, SX, and SB, that is for 12 standard and 12 plus students, right? You need to study any three subjects you are strong in. And in that two subjects, out of these three, at least in two, you should be extremely strong. I repeat, for 12th and 12 plus students, you should study only three subjects that you are strong in. Out of these three subjects that you think that you're strong, out of these three, at least two should be extremely strong. Right? Also, if you're preparing for JE or NEET or NDA for that matter, you can follow JE or NEET study material respectively. For bio students, NCRT content is the best, especially when it comes to the KVPY level of syllabus. You need to obviously study all concepts and topics thoroughly. You cannot leave anything as an option. You cannot say, I don't think so, this is important, this won't be asked in the examination. If you do that, you know what will happen? 99.99% the question would be asked from exactly the same section which you left as an option. So don't do that. Right? And it should not be just be brushed over, it should be studied thoroughly. You need to have strong conceptual understanding to perform well in KVPY examinations. KVPY relies less on memory and more on applying ideas and concepts to solve problems. This is very important. I will repeat this once again because to hammer this point home, KVPY relies less on memory and more on applying ideas and concepts to solve. A lot of times, a lot of kids just rote learn everything. They just by heart everything. उनको लगता है by heart करने से हम दुनिया जीत लेंगे. सिर्फ by heart करने से कुछ नहीं होता. You need to be able to visualize and conceptualize those things that you're learning, and should also try to implement your own ideas to it. Right? That is what is very important, especially for KVPY examination. Right? Now, also you need to remember, while practicing questions, if you know that you are not much familiar with the concepts involved in the questions, don't attempt it. I'm talking about during practice time and not during exam time. Rather, study the concept first and then solve the question. So, always before understanding your question, uh, if you're not able to understand the question, do not just look at the answer key and try to solve it. No, go back to your basic textbook, start with the basic concept, understand and study that, read that, and then once you are done with that, then you could go ahead and solve the question again. Make summary sheets to revise important concepts, formulas weekly in all subjects. Right? Okay, these summary sheets are going to help you not only for KVPY examination, they'll help you for all your competitive examinations, they will help you for all your board examinations. So it's a very good practice that you start making those summary sheets. What are summary sheets? हर एक concept को you could summarize it very briefly in a line or two. If you're able to make a sheet like that, then during examination, एग्जाम से 2 घंटा पहले जो हमारा होड़ लगी होती है ना पढ़ने का, सब बाय हार्ट करने का, क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है, उस टाइम पे you could sit calmly and just go through the summary sheet and you'll know everything, right? So make a summary sheet to revise important concepts and formulas weekly in all subjects. Understand, if you have to do it, I said preparation is the key. You cannot study at the last moment and say, okay, fine, I've done everything. This is not possible, right? So you need to revise all your concepts, all your formulas weekly, every goddamn week. It's only then that you'll be able to clear KVPY, JE, NEET, NDA, and all other competitive examinations, even the Olympiads for that matter. Create a habit of problem solving. The more problems you solve, the more you will become familiar with the strategies for picking the right formula in tests and exam. This is a very self-explanatory line, right? I'm sure you guys understood this point, that you need to understand, okay, the more problems you're solving, the more problems, right, from mathematics to chemistry to physics and to all the other subjects, the more you solve, the because you're in a habit of solving these problems, what happens in the examination, when you see a particular problem, you will understand easily, for this type of problem, which formula I should pick and why. That is also important, but that will come only with practice. If you don't practice, I don't think so anything would happen. So practice, practice, and practice. Keep on practicing every day. That is the short way to success everywhere, right? I think it just jingled. Try to visualize the question. This is important, I think, especially in mathematics and physics. Try to visualize the problem, write down the given information, draw a diagram for the situation. For example, let's assume you have been given a particular question, that there's an object of mass, whatever kgs, it is at a particular height, and it is thrown from a tower of this height, it reaches in some time. Draw a diagram, it helps you visualize the problem, and only when you visualize the problem, that you will be able to understand it better, right? And then also in the diagram, write down the things that you must find. नहीं तो डायग्राम देख के कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा, इसमें फाइंड क्या करना था. Don't do this. Do this obviously with easier question first and difficult questions. Why do I say this, that you need to do this with easier questions first? Because once you start doing it with easier questions, you will get a hang of it. See, it's important in life to get a hang of something, right? It doesn't come in the very first day, it doesn't come in the very first attempt. You'll need to take time to do it. Only when you start with basics, that you could reach to the complex questions. Let's talk about some, let's take an example. I'm sure you all know English as a language, because if you don't know, this entire lecture is futile. You started with ABCD, which are the most basic, fundamental, and a building block. Once you mastered that, then you move to two letter spellings, then three letter spellings, then four, five, and then it becomes easier for you to talk about anything and spell anything and things like that. You just did not, on the very first day of your kindergarten school, went from saying nothing to directly pronouncing probably Constantinople or something like that. So always break down information in chunks which are digestible, right? Which you're able to understand, which you're able to comprehend, and attack them first. Once you overcome them, then you could move towards the advanced stage, right? For people who play different online games, I'm sure you know this. First, you need to start with a very basic thing. Then only you could advance in that particular game or in any other of those tournaments or whatever you do, right? Even in normal games, for example, I'm sure you guys might have heard about someone called as Virat Kohli. He's a captain of the Indian national team, right? Now, do you think when the first time he picked up his bat, he started playing amazingly the way he's doing right now? He had to practice. He practiced and practiced and practiced, and that's when he became one of the finest batsmen that we have. Same thing goes for your problems, for your mathematics, for your physics, for your chemistry, and all those things. You need to practice and keep on practicing till the time it doesn't become your second nature to solve problems. Okay, some important tips over here. Make notes of every topic, important terms, formulas, reactions, mistakes while solving a problem. You also need to make a note of the mistakes that you frequently make while solving a problem. Why? So that you're aware. So the next time when you make those mistakes, you're aware about it, right? Make a separate notebook for remembering formulas in each subject. I mean, you cannot put all the formulas from your math, physics, and chemistry all into one single book, because that will end up becoming a khichdi. You don't want a khichdi. You want it to be very systemized, right? Solve previous year's papers to practice the type of questions that you can expect in KVPY examinations. The KVPY official website itself lists a lot of previous year's examination papers. Those will definitely help you understand the paper pattern, the marking scheme, and the type of the papers that are usually asked. So it's always a important thing that you need to solve as many papers as you could get. And to be honest, in today's day and age, you don't need to go and search from place to place or ask your friends if they have any papers from the last years. All you need to do is just go to Google and you'll find up team number of previous year's papers. Try completing the KVPY syllabus before the examination. KVPY examination is on January 31st. By December 31st, you should be able to complete the KVPY syllabus. Why? Then only you can use one entire month to revise. Otherwise, you won't be able to, you won't be very comfortable while writing the examination. The KVPY examination has enough time to solve fewer questions, maintain accuracy, and avoid negative marks. See, don't, you don't have to go and solve each and every question over there, right? Because obviously there's negative marking. But your focus and your answers should be, pretty very accurate. They should be as accurate as a laser guided missile or something like that, right? So keep that in mind. Since the KVPY exams will be conducted in computer based mode, it is recommended to practice online mock tests of KVPY. There are lots of websites, even the official one would give you mock tests. Find your weak links and silly mistakes and work on them. Your goal is to improve with each test. I mean, think about it. Law of averages. First mock test that you take, let's say you made about 20, 30, 40 odd mistakes, right? Second test, you'll make fewer mistakes if you to practice enough. Third, fewer. And by the time, imagine if January entire month, 31 days, you solve 31 papers. And then you go for the examination. You'll be relaxed, you'll be comfortable, you'll know your mistakes. That's the way to go about it. Last but not the least would be positive and don't panic. Make sure you understand concepts properly and practice KVPY level questions. Panic is not going to help you. If you're stressed out during examination, it will definitely take a toll on you, your health, and everything. And what you'll forget if you're in stress. Because see, when a person is in stress, you a lot of our actions are not controlled because we don't know what is going to happen, right? So you need to keep that in mind, that you need to be always maintain a positive outlook. Start with questions that you're absolutely sure about, then tackle those questions of which you at least have some idea, and then lastly you go to those questions which you have absolutely zero idea, and then you try to work it around. And if you can't find an answer, it's okay to skip some questions because obviously there's negative marking there, right? I hope so this is clear to all of you and there's no doubt. If any one of you has any doubt, please write it in the chat box. I repeat, if any one of you has any doubt, any queries, please write it in the chat box. All right. So, okay. People saying in the chat box that things are clear. All right. Thank you, people. All right. Moving forward, subject wise study strategy for KVPY for all the streams. Okay. SA, SX, and SB. We'll tackle subject wise what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And we are going to start with physics first. Why physics? Because that's my subject. No, I'm just kidding. I just took it randomly. Okay. Physics, obviously, you all know it requires a lot of logical thinking and thorough understanding of fundamental concepts and the application of mathematics to solve problems. A lot of students find have a difficulty with physics when it comes to the math part of physics. But understand 50%, 80% of physics is math. Your math has to be strong in order to attempt physics. Understanding the concepts and practical problem is the key to score well in physics. While preparing, keep your concepts clear before you go for questions. Obviously, before even you start practicing, you should already be very clear with your concepts. Understand in physics, you cannot rote learn. If you say, I'm just going to rote learn those concepts, and if you're just going to rote learn formulas and your laws and definitions, it is not going to help you. It is definitely not going to help you. You need to understand the logic. Physics is absolutely logical. Absolutely logical. You need to see that logic inside. You need to be able to find what is happening. You cannot just simply say by heart stuff and do it, right? Practice conceptual questions in physics. Take up problems that relate to theoretical physics to daily life. That is important. Of physics, generally, if you look all around us, there's physics. When I'm teaching this through online mode, there's a lot of physics involved over here. There's sound energy converted to binary, goes back to sound energy and stuff like that. And there's so much more that happens. So try to take those problems where you can test your theoretical knowledge to physics of daily life, right? It is only then that you'll be able to see your surrounding in a different light. When you start seeing everything in the light of physics, your analytical skills obviously will be tested in solving these questions. The more you solve, the easier it becomes for you, right? A golden rule to master physics would be practice, practice, and practice. You need to keep on practicing math, physics, just like mathematics. If you don't practice, you'll forget, right? So keep on practicing as much as you can. The objective is to solve so many questions that you start to anticipate which method would likely work best. With experience, you'll be able to see solutions quickly. Obviously, that's what happens, the more you start solving, the more questions that you solve, the more problems that you tackle. What happens is with that, what definitely happens with that, you start seeing a pattern. You will be able to anticipate what method you should use for a particular type of question, right? And that will only happen when you have practiced enough. If you don't practice enough, you will not understand, right? Akash, am I audible right now? Guys, am I audible? It is low even. Others are able to hear me, Akash. I'm not sure what's wrong with you. I mean, not you, sorry, your device. All right, Akash. So that's what the golden rule of physics is. Just to recap, you need to practice, practice, and practice some more problems, right? You just need to keep on doing that, and you should be all right. You should be in a much better position. For mathematics, let's see. For mathematics, practice is very much important. I mean, I don't need to tell you this. Right from your kindergarten, your parents would be saying practice math, and practice math, right? Formula should be on your tips. For all sort of formulas you should know, right? You should know every shortcut possible. You should know all possible satas that have been taught to you. Understand satas are a great way to save time. Learn important results and theorems because obviously they are going to help you. And this last point is very crucial if you to pay attention. Mathematics is not just solving, it needs a little visualization skills too. I mean, that's why you use graphs, like you use tools like Desmos, right? That is precisely why, because you need to be able to visualize mathematics. Seeing a equation, a lot of people could say, oh, it's a parabola, it's a hyperbola, it's a straight line, whatever it is. You should be able to do that. You're going to face a lot of IQ based problems in KVPY math. KVPY math is off the charts. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to test your ability in mathematics. I mean, it's one of the best papers to check yourself as to what mathematics do you know. So be prepared. Try to visualize mathematics. I think we already know about Desmos. अभी भी बोलते हैं, right? You need to keep on practicing mathematics. You don't have a choice. You simply don't have a choice with math. The day you stop practicing math, you'll forget. That's the basic nature of math. You don't practice. You have learned something. You have learned something for a year. Stop practicing it for a month. You'll forget it. So don't do that. Right? Keep on practicing it again and again and some more. Right? Let's try to understand something about chemistry. How can you now chemistry? Obviously, we have divided into three parts. These three parts being organic, physical, and inorganic. Okay, the three parts to chemistry. The first part, I'm going to talk about organic chemistry. So, organic chemistry for KVPY is to learn by understanding and then revising it again and again. Organic chemistry, just like mathematics, you need to keep on practicing and revising it again and again. You cannot say एक बार ये formula पढ़ लिया, एक बार ये aldehyde पढ़ लिया, ये ketone पढ़ लिया, हो गया. No, it doesn't work like that. Write a summary of important points. Start with the basics and then move ahead with complex concepts. I mean, that's a rule for all the subjects, by the way. Always start with the basic and then only you move to complex topics. You cannot say मैं directly complex लूंगा, then I'll come to simple. No, the rule is start with simple, take it to complex. Practice problems each time when you study a topic. Every time you study anything from organic chemistry, you need to practice the sum, right? Make a separate notebook for named reactions and their mechanism and revise it daily, because a lot of times you may remember reaction but you forgot the mechanism behind it, or you may remember the mechanism but you forgot the entire components of it, right? Don't do that. For organic chemistry, you need to practice about 10 equations every day. You don't have a choice with it, right? Part two was physical chemistry. Obviously, for physical chemistry, I'll advise you all to read from NCRT and have your concepts clarified by your teacher. To become good at physical chemistry, you need to develop problem solving skills. Do you notice a pattern over here, guys? For everything, what you need is problem solving ability. And these problem solving ability will also empower you to become a better person, because even in your life, when we face problem, they will help you to solve those problems. Be thorough with all the formulae. I mean, obviously, if you don't know the formula, you won't be able to solve any of the problems, right? Solve good quality problems in physical chemistry. Obviously, the more questions that you solve and the better quality of questions that you solve, it is better for you. See, questions comes in all sort of size, shape, difficulty levels, and stuff like that. The more questions that you solve, which are of good quality, right? What do you mean by a good quality problem? That it should be able to entice your brain. It should be able to stimulate your brain to understand what is going to happen. Those questions are good quality questions, right? For inorganic chemistry, basically it involves a lot of memorizing. I mean, this is the place where you need to show your memorizing power, and I'm sure a lot of students can do this well, right? For inorganic, you need to memorize a lot, study NCRT, probably make precise notes for each chapter. You may think that it is a waste of time to maintain so many notes, but they will prove indispensable for your revision. Understand? You would have practiced for the entire year, but if you don't revise properly, your last minute revision, if it is not good, a lot of it would be gone if you don't revise on time and properly. Revision is a key. Problem solving is the key to success. Revision is a key to success. Two important keys. Let's also see how many more keys we can find out today. Next subject that we are going to talk about, I think it would be biology. For KVPY students, NCRT biology is sufficient. I mean, you do not have to go anywhere else, don't have to purchase any other book. Just practice the NCRT bio, and that should be all right. But for bio, especially, you need to remember the diagrams and the labelings, right? The multitude of diagrams in biology. You should be able to practice them, know them, remember them, as well as their labeling. You cannot forget them, right? Also practice MCQs in biology. I mean, that goes without saying. You need to be able to practice MCQs and as many MCQs as possible in biology. Solving questions is equally important in biology as it is in physics and chemistry. Obviously, solving any sort of question is important. Make your own notes in biology because that really helps you. And in making those notes, what you need to do is you need to include the flowcharts and shortcuts to learn important topics. I'm sure you all know what are flowcharts. Flowcharts are basically when you arrange information in a way which can take you from one idea to the other and in a very seamless way so that it really helps you understand things properly. I hope so this is clear to all of you. Anyone has any query or question? Anyone has any queries, any questions about any subject so far? Mihir, for bio NCRT is enough. I mean, if you finish NTRT, then we could think of some other book. But first priority would be NCRT. All right. So let's talk about the syllabus for SASX and SB stream. See, basically KVPY does not give any specified syllabus as such, but the students are generally tested as per their respective class or grade syllabus. So if you're in 11th standard, KVPY would most likely test you only for the 11th standard grade syllabus. If you're in 12th or FY, they will test you for 12th. So primarily 11th standard syllabus and 12th standard syllabus. These are the two syllabuses where KVPY will test you, right? KVPY aspirants must essay, obviously the essay stream, which is the 11th standard stream, must study physics, mathematics, chemistry, as well as biology syllabus till class 11. The entire class 11 syllabus should be done and out with. Only if you study all these four subjects in 11th standard and complete the syllabus and revise and practice that you stand a chance in cracking KVPY. Keep that in mind though, right? KVPY SX and SB stream, which is your 12th standard stream and FY stream. Syllabus includes physics, math, chemistry, and bio topics till class 12th. Obviously, but you need to study only three. For 12th standard students, you need to study only three subjects. Okay. Now, KVPY aspirants needs to finish the syllabus before the month of December. I think I've already said this. By 31st December, you should be able to finish your syllabus. And then the last 1 month, which is January, you need to keep on practicing. Practices it as much as you can. See, as a one-time exception due to COVID, right? KVPY is going to be conducted on 31st January 2021. Usually, that's not the date. It is usually conducted in sometimes in November, something like that. Mihir बच्चा, you have been studying this for a long time, ना? 10th standard तो बहुत पहले खत्म हो गई थी. So if you're in 11th standard, you still have a long time. इतने टाइम से नहीं किया है कुछ तो then that's a different story. बट तुम लोग तो एक रात में भी सिलेबस खत्म कर सकते हो. एक महीने में तो आराम से कर लोगे. आई एम वेरी श्योर इफ यू टू फोकस प्रॉपर्ली. Guys, remember the date. I said I'm going to tell this date once again. Do not forget this date. That is 31st January 2021. That's the date for your KVPY. Okay. Study materials that you should refer. Um, KVPY aspirants can study from NCRT books and IIT or need for bio coaching material. See, if you are a PCM student, I would obviously, first step would be your NCRT. And then after NCRT, you could focus on your IIT and JE material. If you have to do these two, it's sufficient. It is more than sufficient, in fact. For essay aspirant, that is 11th standard, you must study topics of 11th standard only, whereas others should study 11th and 12th both. For SX and SB, which is the 12th standard student, should be well versed with 11th as well as 12th standard topics, both topics. If your basic concepts are strong till class 10, then there's an advantage in KVPY examination. Obviously, if your basic concepts are really very clear till class 10, you would definitely get an advantage because that's the basic foundation for your all these examinations, right? So be prepared with those syllabus and everything, guys. How to prepare for KVPY along with JE on it. So, or NDA for that matter. You're also preparing for NDA, right? A lot of you. So try to finish this respective JE or NEET syllabus before the KVPY examination. This is generally a rule of thumb. This is not a, you know, this is a definite answer. ये ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. It obviously varies from person to person, but this is a good to do suggestion, right? Finish your respective JE and NEET syllabus before the KVPY exam. If you know all important concepts, have made notes, and solved KVPY level questions, you can do well in the exam. Again, what are the criteria to be able to do well in the examination? You should know first all the important concepts. Second, you should have made notes. Third, you should have solved KVPY level questions. Where will you get the KVPY level questions? On the official website or anywhere else on Google where you can solve the previous year question papers. You can do well in the obviously you can do well in the examination. Solve last past year's papers. It is of utmost importance. As many questions as you could solve from the previous year's papers, it would be important for you. If you're an IIT JEE aspirant, the KVPY examination is a good opportunity to test your concepts, understanding, and application of logic. Basically, all these things are required for you to clear JEE. Remember, you could also get into technical entry from JEE. So it's important that you clear JEE as well along with NDA. NEET aspirants can test their PCB concepts through KVPY exams. Obviously, for NEET, you're just testing your PCB concepts, and that would happen through KVPY. See, KVPY puts you in a zone where it takes you a notch higher to think. Your mental ability, it forces your brain, it forces your brain to think, one step higher and higher. And you need to do that on an everyday basis. Every day, if you were to start, taking questions which are a step higher, the amount of practice that you'll put in is would be very very helpful for you for any examination, any competitive examination, not only KVPY, JE, NEET, or NDA. See, the idea is once you clear these competitive examinations, your career is set, and that is what most of the people want. That could be whatever career that you decide. The students who want to, clear NDA and get into the defense services, excellent. Some who wants to get clear JE and get into IITs, or whatever. Someone wants to get into medical field, someone wants to become an artist, whatever stream that you decide, right? You need to be able to do all that is needed to crack that examination. Because if you say it is your passion and if you're not working enough to crack those examinations, then ask yourself, was it really your passion? Think about this, and take your time and think about this, people. I think I have about 5 more minutes, people. I'd like to take questions if anyone has any queries or questions about KVPY, Olympiads, or anything related to these examinations for that matter. Guys, anyone, if you have any query, any questions? Okay, no one has any question. Then probably I'll ask a question, and then you could put it. You could write the answer in the chat box, right? Why do you want to crack the competitive examination of whatever exam that you want to do, be it NDA, JE, KVPY is for practicing. But KVPY is a good practice, but then if you were to crack, there's a lot of benefit also. If you were to crack KVPY, there's a lot of benefits to that. Okay, so KVPY is a very important examination. I think it's one of the most important examinations because if you talk about research sector in India, the government of India is pumping a huge chunk of money in research sector because that's the only way that we could succeed as a nation. The amount of potential there is in research in today's time, as opposed to in the previous years, is huge, right? So if you have an acumen to get into research, this is the exam for you. It also definitely helps you getting to know your own potential. We should always check ourselves ना. We should always be able to check ourselves क्या हम कितने पानी में हमको पता होना चाहिए. नहीं तो हम तो क्लास में बैठे हमको लगता भाई हम तो दे दो जो एग्जाम हम क्रैक कर देंगे. But it is not how it works, right? So you should always know where you stand, because only then that we could think about improvement in ourselves. If you don't know, I mean, where you stand, how can you improve yourself then? Because हम सबकी अपने आप की नज़र में तो हम तो बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, हम में से कोई बुरा करता ही नहीं है, right? So these examinations are, you can take them as eye openers basically. Just precisely. Right? Anyone has any other query? I just have 2 minutes before I wind up with this session. All right. If no one has any query or questions, I'll say good evening and thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for for attending this session. I hope so. It has helped you. Shashank, Shashank ने वीडियो चालू करके ही saying bye bye Shashank. I'll shortly meet you in the class. And also, uh, okay, Akash has a doubt. Akash, quick. I just have 1 minute. Akash, you had a doubt. I have, sorry, 1 minute. I just have 1 minute. All right, Akash. Can you write your doubt? Is it possible to graduate in BSc degree after? Okay, you're talking about dual degrees. There's some universities who do offer dual degrees. Not everyone, though. Uh, Guys, I think my time is up. Thank you, everyone. Akash, probably I'll talk to you